of season 2, right? Yes, of the podcast. We're back. I know. I'm pumped just like you are. Anyways, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're back. I'm glad that we're all back. This week, we're going to talk about ways to improve communication with each of the types. That's right. What we're going to do this week is talk about improving communication through each of the types. Now, this book that we're referencing this week is Beth and Jeff McCord's book, Becoming Us. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, it looks like this. If you're listening to it, well, that's what it is, Becoming Us by Beth and Jeff McCord. As a little precursor for all of the people that are listening that aren't necessarily into faith-based stuff, I just want to give you like a little, not a warning, but just like a heads up. This is a gospel-centered marriage and Enneagram book, but I do like a lot of the content in here, and I'm not bashing it at all. I'm a faith person myself, but I know that can be off-putting for some people. So there you go. The information's still great. It just talks about Jesus sometimes, and that's all right. All right, so this week we're going to talk about all of that good stuff, and we're going to start with type 8s. I hope that you're ready. Ways to improve communication with a type 8 spouse or partner. Keep your comments brief, purposeful, clear, and direct. Allow your type 8 to respond whenever they feel the need, and do not be intimidated by their strong stance. They really do want you to stand your ground. If you are in a relationship with a type 8, you probably know this, but I don't know if you know this to the depth at which your type 8 wants you to do this. They want you to stand your ground, and they want you to work through this situation with them. They want to see if you're willing to put in the work. Demonstrate that you are loyal and protective of them, and that you will go the extra mile to back them up with help. Type 8s have a big, strong armor that they put on, and if you help hold up some of the weight of that protection, they will know that you are standing by their side. As a bonus to each of these things, I want to let you know when your type 8 is activated, meaning they may be stressed. And these are good indicators as to maybe this is a time for us to communicate about something that has not been communicated about. Okay, so we're going to give an activated part of this for each of the types as well. So an activated type 8 can synthesize information quickly and act decisively. They can also discard those that they do not respect. So if you see these things happening with your type 8, it might just kind of send up a little flag in your brain and go, okay, I maybe need to think about my type 8 that I love so much is not doing well, and I need to figure out how to come alongside and help. All right, moving on to type 9. Ways to improve your communication with your type 9 spouse or partner are like this. Develop a safe and warm connection with the type 9 before any difficult conversations. Invite them to participate in problem-solving process by letting them know that you want to hear from them. Remember that your type 9 does not believe that their voice or that their presence matters. So when you are especially in a difficult conversation, you're going to want to remind them like, hey, I want your input here. Okay? Of the couples that I've coached, when the type 9 of the relationship realizes like, oh, me just going along with my partner isn't actually helping this whole thing out, and they realize that I need to put in some work here, the other person in the relationship that isn't the type 9 finally sees them come alive, and the relationship just explodes with new love and new care for one another. And I could not highly recommend this for a type 9 listening right now. But if you are the partner of a type 9, remind them that you want to hear from them. And if I can, which I can because I am a type 9 myself, remind them in a way that says, I love you so much, I value you, I respect you so much to hear from you. That's what I want. Not demanding, because that's most likely going to push your type 9 away. All right? An activated type 9 can look like this. They withdraw and say nothing, as well as hide how they are feeling inside. They may show a slight indication of anger in their facial tension. Remember, they have a deep well of anger. They're trying to figure out how to keep that at bay, because that's going to separate them in relationship. So remind them it's okay to have anger. Everybody has anger. We are going to be fine. Okay? The final type in the anger triad, type 1s, let's look at that. If you find yourself in communication or relationship with a type 1, here are a few tips. Don't commit a suicide thinking that your type 1 is just judging you. Instead, see how the type 1 is trying to help you with their advice. Type 1s are very relational people. They really want their relationships to go well. They, in fact, want them to go as good as they possibly can. So sometimes the type 1 gets in their own way and starts to try to help with criticisms and critiques. And oftentimes that comes across as judgmental and criticizing. So don't assume that they're judging you. Assume that they're trying to help you and then clarify from there. Affirm and support your type 1 genuinely based on facts, not just feelings. Repeat what the 1 said, asking clarifying questions to verify that you both are on the same page. Type 1s want to do what is right and what is best. And when it's unclear and ambiguous, it really makes it difficult for them to feel like they're able to put in their all. So if you want to help your type 1, be as clear as you possibly can. This is what an activated type 1 could look like in your relationship. They can speak in a sharp and curt manner with detailed judgments and criticisms. They can also bring up accusations related to other issues. Remember, your type 1 believes that anger is bad. Now, if they haven't done their work, they believe that to be true. If they've done their work, that may not be the case. But if a type 1 is having these kind of reactions to different things in life, especially in your relationship, that may mean that there's something else that's just below the surface that's beating them up that they need some help with. Okay, let's take a look at type 2s. Here are some ways to improve communication with your type 2 partner or spouse. Make sure you are warm, affectionate, and relationally connected with your type 2 before addressing any feedback. Make sure that you use positive energy and an encouraging tone. You'll definitely want to discuss anything challenging or difficult privately. Speaking in front of others causes the 2 to feel a great deal of shame and rejection. Remember, type 2s deal with shame like 8s, 9s, and 1s deal with anger. They live in the shame triad or the feeling triad. And so when you're bringing these things out in public, it adds to their shame tremendously. Here are a few things you can do to recognize behaviors of your type 2 when they might be activated. When they start to express emotions quite intensely, that's a good one. Another good one is extensively expressing how they feel, why they feel that way, and what they believe others did wrong. Remember, 2s deal with shame in a great way. They also don't believe that they have any needs. They want to focus on others' needs. So when it comes back to them, it can add a lot onto their plate. So be careful with them. All right, let's talk about your type 3 relationship and how to improve communication in it. Give specific and clear examples of what you want them to accomplish and the time frame when you desire it completed. Ambivalence in your desires slows them down and only frustrates them. Encourage and affirm them often. Be their number one supporter by setting them up to succeed. Be positive, develop a clear outline, and plan out what the positive outcome needs to be for any difficult discussion. Remember, here's something that not all people know about type 3s is that they are dominant and repressed in the same thing. Okay, so meaning they are feeling dominant and feeling repressed. To expand on that quickly, meaning they are in the shame triad, they are in the feeling triad. They are feeling dominant in that they can't not deal with their emotions. Their emotions are a part of who they are, but they don't view them as efficient ways of going about the world. So it's this constant battle back and forth, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So if you can be clear with your type 3 and allow them, which gives them the space to feel the way they need to feel, it'll allow them to have what they would view as an efficient way of using their emotions to deal with a problem. Here are a few ways you can figure out if your type 3 is activated in your relationship. They disconnect from their head from their heart and focus primarily on achieving rather than relating. So again, dominant in feeling, repressed in feeling. They disconnect their head from their heart and focus primarily on achieving rather than relating. They can speak sharply and in short sentences from a desire to solve issues quickly and efficiently. Again, now they're pushing the emotion down because it's not an efficient way to deal with a problem. But really what needs to happen is they need to be allowed space in order to move about in those emotions, okay? Let's move on to type 4s. Okay, here's a few ways to improve communication with a type 4. Express your emotions more openly to develop a solid and meaningful emotional relationship. Be authentic and real, or communication with a 4 will stall and cease to exist. Express what you admire and appreciate about a 4. Do not try to change them. Remember, their goal in life is to be the most authentic and their goal in their life is to become the most unique and authentic version of themselves. That's what they're always searching for. So as a partner, you have to be able to nurture that. You cannot try to change them. That will not go well for you. And if you have tried, you probably know what I'm talking about. So allow them to explore the range of their emotions and dive into it with them. Don't go all the way to the bottom. Help keep bringing them back up because they can hang out in those dark emotions all day. Here are a few ways to recognize when your type 4 is activated. They become either withdrawn and quiet or likely to voice their feelings and opinions very bluntly. They try intensely to get others to understand their perspective and feelings. And also, one of my big indicators is when they use a lot of self-referencing language. How they are feeling, how that made them feel, what they did, what they like. A lot of me, not in a selfish way, but it's just like I don't know another way to communicate out how to be the most authentic version other than to talk about me. Let's talk about how to improve communication with your type 5 relationship. Keep your conversation focused on facts and specific details. This is a big one. Understand that 5s can't always drum up their thoughts and emotions on the spot. They may need more time alone to process them fully before expressing them to you. You're going to want to give your type 5 as much space as you can. I want to encourage you, if you are a type 5 listening to this, you don't need as much time and space as you think. If you start to use something to, like a way to learn more about a thing, that's usually your choice to numb out on what you need to actually deal with. If you are the person in relationship with type 5, give them the space. They do need quite a bit. And here's how to know when a type 5 is activated. They become withdrawn and quiet or angry and enraged if others are cornering them and not respecting their boundaries. They detach emotions and observe their surroundings, but later process their emotions privately. I heard this great line, I think from Ian Cron. He was probably quoting somebody else. I don't remember exactly. But the invitation to a type 5 every day is to jump off of the frame of life and move into the art. That correlating to that last statement there, detaching emotions and observing their surroundings. Instead of standing on the sidelines and observing the game of life, jump in and actually play. Okay, type 6s, let's talk about how to be in relationship and improve communication with you. Be clear. Be direct and specific on what you are thinking, feeling, and wanting when giving feedback. Again, this is if you are in relationship with a type 6. When you're clear, direct, and specific on what you're thinking, feeling, and wanting when giving feedback, this keeps your type 6 from over-speculating and worst-case scenario thinking in their mind what you might have said if you weren't as clear as you could have been. Reassure your 6 of your support, your love, your faithfulness, before, after, and even during a heavy conversation. And create a safe relational atmosphere by often giving the 6 support, assurance, and loyalty. Loyalty is a big deal to the type 6. I'm sure you probably know it if you're in a relationship with one. So assure them that you are still loyal and connected to them in every way. And here are a few tips on how to know if your type 6 is activated. They are either fearfully withdrawing or becoming highly reactive. They engage in intense mental analysis with any given situation or conflict. They believe their projections are accurate and real, leading them to redirect their own thoughts, feelings, and motives onto others. Remind your type 6, if they are activated, that they are safe. They are safe with you, and they are safe wherever they are. Remember, they are looking for safety. They are looking for security in every way. It's a good way to know that your type 6 is activated if they're doing any of these things. And type 7s. Here's a few pointers on how to improve communication with your type 7. Bid for their attention in an environment that is not too distracting to them. Try to bring any negative perspective or disposition back to neutral so as not to activate the 7's reframing strategies. I'm sure if you are in a relationship with a type 7, you know this well, but they are fantastic at reframing anything into a positive light. So, what we want to do is not allow them necessarily to reframe in a positive light, We also want to keep it out of the negative. We want to come back to neutral. That's what that means. And then the last one here is bring in positive and affirming information or language before discussing information that might be more negative or difficult for your type 7 to hear. Again, negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative feelings are not something that type 7s do well with if they have not done their work. So they try to reframe it into a silver lining. So before you begin to have a difficult or hard conversation with a type 7 in your world, bring in positive, affirming language before you do so. And here are a few ways to recognize behavior tendencies that your type 7 is activated. They avoid unpleasant situations by thinking and planning for more pleasurable alternatives. If you know anything about relation to time in the Enneagram, you know that 7s are focused on the future. They do a lot of planning about what's next, what's coming, what's out there. We ask them to come back to the present moment. They also reframe circumstances so they sound better to themselves and to others. So if something happened in their world and that they have shame or they're embarrassed about it, they're going to reframe that in a way that says, as long as I don't sound too bad, right? So we can invite them to say, it's okay to be honest about the things that actually happen in our lives. Then they're not alone in that either. All right, that's the end of episode 2 here on the podcast. We are in season 2, and I'm so glad that you are here this week. Again, this has been improving communication with each of your types. My name is Brandon. I'm an Enneagram coach. If you have any other questions, you can go to aimandanchorcoaching.com. If you're interested in coaching or any other information, that's where you can find me. If you want to get a hold of me, you can find me through email, brandon@aimandanchorcoaching.com. Be well, and I'll see you next week.